Ever wondered what sparked the greatest conflict in human history, World War II? Let's delve into the causes that ignited the flames of this colossal conflict. Our story begins at the end of the First World War, a devastating conflict that left millions dead and entire countries in ruins. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in June of 1919, was intended to ensure peace. However, it did quite the opposite. In an attempt to prevent Germany from becoming a threat again, the treaty imposed harsh penalties. Germany was forced to accept full responsibility for the war, strip away its military, and pay reparations that crippled its economy. This generated a deep resentment among Germans, creating a fertile ground for extreme ideologies to take root. Fast forward to the 1930s, a wave of fascism swept across Europe, particularly in Italy and Germany. Fascism, with its emphasis on strong, centralized government and racial purity, appealed to those disillusioned by the economic depression and the perceived humiliation of the Versailles Treaty. In Germany, this led to the rise of Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party. Hitler promised to restore Germany's pride and power, exploiting the public's discontent to consolidate his rule. Finally, in September of 1939, the simmering tensions reached a boiling point. Hitler, having already annexed Austria and Czechoslovakia, turned his sights on Poland. Ignoring international pleas for peace, Hitler launched an invasion, marking the start of World War II. Britain and France, bound by treaties to protect Poland, declared war on Germany. Ironically, the Treaty of Versailles, designed to maintain peace, had instead sown the seeds of a larger, more destructive conflict. The rise of fascism, fueled by economic hardship and national humiliation, had given rise to leaders willing to plunge the world into war to achieve their goals. And thus, the stage was set for the most devastating war in human history. How did the tides of the war shift, and what were the key battles that determined its outcome? This is a question that historians have pondered over for decades. Let's delve into the heart of the matter and discuss some of the pivotal battles that shaped the direction of World War II. Let's start with the Battle of Britain. This was the first major battle to be fought entirely by air forces. It was waged over the skies of the United Kingdom, primarily between July and October in 1940. The stakes were high, as Britain's Royal Air Force defended the country against the relentless assault of Germany's Luftwaffe. The British resistance was fierce and unyielding, leading to a significant shift in momentum. This battle marked the first major defeat of Hitler's military forces, and it effectively prevented a planned invasion of Britain. The Battle of Britain was indeed a turning point, proving that the German war machine was not invincible. Next, we turn to the east and the brutal Battle of Stalingrad. Fought from August 1942 to February 1943, this was one of the most significant battles on the Eastern Front. The city of Stalingrad was a strategic target for the Germans, aiming to cripple the Soviet Union's capacity to produce military equipment. However, the Soviet forces held firm, and the loss of an entire German army at Stalingrad marked a turning point, signaling the start of a series of defeats for Hitler in the East. Finally, let's voyage to the Pacific and the Battle of Midway. In June 1942, the United States Navy decisively defeated an attacking fleet of the Imperial Japanese Navy. The Japanese aimed to eliminate the United States as a strategic power in the Pacific, but the U.S. forces turned the tables. The victory at Midway marked a turning point in the Pacific War and paved the way for the Allies' island-hopping campaign. Each of these battles was a critical turning point, shaping the course and eventual outcome of World War II. These confrontations, fought across different terrains and continents, underscore the global scale and the dramatic twists and turns of this monumental conflict. But what about the darkest chapter of World War II, the Holocaust? In the heart of Europe, as the world was engaged in a colossal struggle of ideologies and territories, a horrifying and systematic persecution unfolded. This was the Holocaust, a genocide perpetrated by Adolf Hitler's Nazi regime and its collaborators, aimed primarily at the Jewish population. From the moment Hitler took power in 1933, the Nazis began to implement their vision of a racially pure Germany. Jews were increasingly marginalized, their rights stripped away, their properties confiscated, and their businesses boycotted. Anti-Semitism became the law of the land, institutionalized through the infamous Nuremberg Laws of 1935. However, it wasn't until 1939, with the start of World War II, that the scale and intensity of this persecution escalated dramatically. Jews were rounded up from across Europe and herded into ghettos, forced to live in inhumane conditions. Yet this was just the beginning of a calculated and chilling plan for their annihilation. Following the invasion of the Soviet Union in 1941, the Nazis implemented the final solution to the Jewish question. This was a plan for the total extermination of the Jews. Concentration and extermination camps were set up in occupied Poland, the most infamous being Auschwitz-Birkenau, where millions of Jews were systematically murdered. By the end of the war, around 6 million Jews, 2/3 of the Jewish population of Europe, had been killed. The Holocaust was an event of unparalleled horror, a stark manifestation of the depths of human cruelty. It was a crime against humanity that transcended borders, affecting not just the Jewish community, but the entire world. It challenged our understanding of human nature and the capacity for evil. Yet it's also a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, with stories of survival, resistance, and solidarity emerging from the darkest corners of despair. It's a stark reminder of the need for eternal vigilance against hatred, bigotry, and prejudice. The Holocaust remains a chilling reminder of the depths of human cruelty and the importance of standing against hatred and prejudice. So, how did this war of unprecedented scale and devastation finally come to an end? As the tides of war began to turn, a significant event was the D-Day invasion. On June 6, 1944, the Allies launched the largest amphibious invasion in history on the beaches of Normandy, France. Over 150,000 troops stormed the beaches, marking the beginning of the end for Germany's domination in Europe. This invasion opened a new front against the Nazis, stretching their resources thin and paving the way for further Allied advances. As the Allies pushed on, Berlin, the heart of Nazi Germany, began to crumble. By April 1945, the city was encircled by Allied forces. The Battle of Berlin was fierce as the remaining German forces put up a desperate last stand. But in the end, the city fell. Hitler's suicide in his bunker symbolized the defeat of Nazi Germany and marked the beginning of the end of the war in Europe. However, the war was not over. Across the Pacific, the conflict between the United States and Japan raged on. The decision to drop atomic bombs on the cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945 was a desperate and controversial measure to end the war. The devastation wrought by these bombs was unlike anything the world had seen. The sheer force and destructive power of these weapons led to Japan's surrender just days later. These were the pivotal moments that led to the end of World War II. D-Day launched the final act in Europe. The fall of Berlin signaled the collapse of Nazi Germany, and the atomic bombings brought about Japan's surrender. Each of these events played a crucial role in drawing the curtains on the most destructive conflict in human history. World War II thus ended, leaving in its wake a world forever changed. What was the aftermath of this global conflict? After the dust of World War II settled, the world was forever altered. The end of the war marked the beginning of a new era, with dramatic changes in political alignments and social structures. Firstly, let's touch on the establishment of the United Nations. Rising from the ashes of the ill-fated League of Nations, the United Nations was born with a renewed sense of purpose, to promote peace and prevent future wars. Today, it stands as a symbol of international cooperation, with 193 member states committed to upholding human rights, fostering social and economic development, and coordinating international law. Next, we have the start of the Cold War. The seeds of this ideological conflict were sown even before World War II had officially ended. The United States and the Soviet Union, former allies against the Axis powers, found themselves at odds over political ideology and the balance of power. This chilly standoff, devoid of direct military conflict but fraught with tension and proxy wars, lasted for nearly 5 decades. Then there's the division of Germany. The once powerful nation, now defeated and devastated, was split into 4 zones, each controlled by one of the victorious allies: the United States, Britain, France, and the Soviet Union. This division, initially intended to be temporary, hardened into a permanent rift with the formation of the Federal Republic of Germany, or West Germany, and the German Democratic Republic, or East Germany. The fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989 symbolically ended this division, marking the beginning of a new chapter in German history. These events and more shaped the post-war world, leaving indelible marks on the pages of history. The aftermath of World War II was a period of intense change and restructuring, a time when nations had to grapple with their past while looking towards an uncertain future. In the aftermath of World War II, a new world order emerged, setting the stage for the world as we know it today.